Hello everybody, it's Warhammer here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are here for a bit of Dark Elf on Empire action on the map Excavation Site. And basically I haven't really done this matchup much, if at all, since, at least from the Dark Elf's perspective, since the Vampire Coast patch dropped actually. And one of the things that did happen there was that the Doomfire Warlocks actually got a cost increase, which definitely nerfed them and made them less effective. And Malekith also had some nerfs. His Gaze of Malice now only has 3 charges, so there have been a few little changes made. And I want to see how well Dark Elves handle now with one of my favorite strats back in the day, which was Mass Heavy Cav. Cold One Knights did actually get some reworking as well to bring them on par with the Dinosaur Cold Ones, or with the Lizardmen Cold Ones. They lost some charge bonus, gained a good bit of sustained melee stats, and I think generally just became a bit of a better unit. But regardless, going into this match, the build is pretty standard, though we did have to make some sacrifices in a few spots to cram in our thin infantry front line. For my lord, I did bring Malekith. Of course, he's a great all-rounder. He's got Spiteful Conjuration, Chill Wind, Word of Pain, Soul Stealer, of course, to keep himself alive, Stand Your Ground, and Gaze of Malice. Of course, he's got some great survivability thanks to Soul Stealer and Word of Pain. Chill Wind is a nice little slow and lets you mess up backlines. Same thing with Gaze of Malice. So all in all, he's just a pretty tanky, survivable, decent lord here on his Velociraptor. Plus, pretty flexible with some AP, so that's all pretty nice. For our front line, it is 2 Bleak Swords on the outer edges, 2 Blackheart Corsairs, and a single unit Sister Slaughter. These guys also, I do believe, took some slight stat nerfs, but honestly, they're still going to mulch through all lower-end Empire infantry, and they'll even do okay against, say, Great Swords. I actually do think they might out-trade Great Swords in a straight-up fight, simply because their melee stats are so monstrous. That melee attack of 37, especially the melee defense of 59, is just ridiculous. It means that Great Swords have almost no chance of hitting. Now, for the main part of this build, though, we've got Doomfire Warlocks on either end. One of them is Slanishes Harvesters. These guys are, of course, much more expensive than they used to be. I think a whole 100 gold more than before. But still, they're a very potent unit. They still have physical resist. They still got poison. They've got magic attacks. And they can just mulch squishy infantry. So things like handguns, things like Hellblaster volley guns, things like artillery pieces, they will destroy, and they'll destroy things like Outriders especially. Finally, we do have 2 units of Cold One Knights on either end. One of each pair has 2 chevrons because I had a few points left over. These guys, you can see, respectable sustained melee stats. They do have AP, of course, weapon strength, and some pretty bonkers stats. They've got a bonus for slaughter of, I think it's 14, so in sustained melee, they actually will dumpster Empire Cavalry for most part, without any buffs and debuffs being cast, of course. Now for my opponent, he decided to roll with good old Karl Franz up here in the air. He does have Gul Miraz, he's got Stand Your Ground, he's got Hold the Line, and Foe Seeker. He is on Deathclaw, so he does get Blood Roar, which makes him pretty potent at just causing fear and terror outs. But no caster, which I think is a bit of a mistake. The front line here of Spearmen with Shields, as well as Sigmar's Sons, a bit of a dedicated holding line, essentially, just a bunch of Spearmen with single unit of Great Swords. So these guys will probably trade okay with my front line. But certainly they're more of an anchor, whereas the main strike force here is this lineup of Reichsguard and Empire Knights. We can see 2 units of Empire Knights on this flank, Reichsguard over here, single unit of Outriders to provide some flexible mobile AP, and then of course a Hellblaster volley gun, which on a small map like this, not necessarily the worst artillery piece, because if I, for example, brought some bolt throwers, you could quickly wipe them out, and otherwise it's already doing some damage. It's already taking these Sisters Slaughter down by a couple hundred HP in a matter of seconds and taking 5 models off them. So definitely paying its dues right off the bat, or trying to at any rate. Potentially a pretty potent artillery piece, but now it is going to shift its fire to the Blackheart Corsairs, with perhaps a little bit less efficient usage of your ammo. Sister Slaughter definitely are a very important target that needs to be dealt with, in my opinion. Regardless, the Empire Knights are sallying forward. Now, Empire Knights are a unit I'm not particularly fond of in this matchup because of how badly they will do against units like Cold One Knights. And as my opponent does push in here, he's going to do a lot of damage to the Bleak Swords, because of course Bleak Swords have almost no armor, and some damage to the Blackheart Corsairs. But he does take some friendly fire from the Hellblaster, and now the Cold One Knights are on top of him, and the Empire Knights are going to get mulched. It's not even close. And unfortunately, the Cold One Knights are a little bogged down there, but we do manage to intercept the Reichsguard over here, start smashing them, and over here, the Slanishes Harvesters are going to catch and start running down these Outriders. So this battle is starting in a very brutal and decisive fashion. The Empire Knights here forced to back off, while over here, these Empire Knights are very badly getting mauled. They've basically petered out against the Bleak Swords. Now they're stuck. Over here, the Sister Slaughter is holding the line, up to 30 kills already. And although Karl's being courageous here, trying to dive in on Malekith, he's going to be able to pull away. And these Empire Knights over here, they're in just a rough spot. Sure, they've got some charge bonus. They've got like 30 weapon strength, but it's just not enough. Cold One Knights, they've got 30 or 90 armor, which against 30 non-AP weapon strength, just not going to cut the mustard there. These guys do have a lot of AP damage of their own. They're just dicing through these knights. One of the knights already routed, and although the bleak swords here are going to get terrified because of Karl, we did hit Karl with an overcast Word of Pain, which is going to make him much less effective in close quarters, even with Gul Maraz active, and we're going to be able to surround him now and start pounding him down. Unfortunately, Malekith here, and definitely in a bit of a pickle himself, because he's getting pounded, he's losing quite a bit of HP, but we are able to get that surround with the Cold One Knights. Malekith wailing on Karl, who has like no melee defense right now, and he is getting melted. In the meantime, looking over in overarching view, you can see the Doomfire Warlocks here did drop that Soul Blight, which annihilated these Empire Knights. The Empire Knights essentially removed from play in a matter of seconds, and at this point, it's just basically game over. The Reichsguard here completely annihilated. Certainly these Cold One Knights struggling a little bit to get into Zintler's Reichsguard, who I forgot to mention. My opponent vanguarded them behind my line. But Zintler's Reichsguard, they took too long to reach the fight. Now the Cold One Knights are pushing in from the back. They're going to be able to deliver a nasty rear charge to Zintler's Reichsguard, who are just not where they want to be in life. Over here, the Doomfire Warlocks are going to sort of interdict the Spearmen here, start damaging them with a rear charge. Doomfire Warlock's not bad against clumped up infantry. They do have splash and all that sort of stuff. But at this point, as Karl Franz does go down somewhere where you can see Deathclaw's corpse there, my opponent is forced to exit the game. And that was a very quick game. And I unfortunately just haven't had many great matches to cast in the last day. So I've kind of held off. But I was hoping to get a good match, like a really tight game. But did not, but I didn't want to demonstrate this game just because it was a bit of a test run for a build that I used to run a lot of, and haven't really gotten the opportunity to test since the changes, because there have been a lot of straight nerfs. Lanish's Harvesters and Malekith just got straight nerfs. The Sister Slaughter, I believe, got a straight nerf. Cold One Knights got a rework, I think for the better, but definitely a bit of a fun build. It's a very potent build. Obviously the kill counts here don't necessarily show it. You can see that on paper, my opponent still had a lot of his army left over. He still had 641 models, but most of those were just trash infantry. It was just spearmen and the great swords. The artillery was gone. The cavalry was down to just Zintler's Reichsguard. Karl was dead. So at that point, the Blackheart Corsairs will mow through cheap infantry. You basically just take apart the great swords at that point, the Zintler's Reichsguard with your Cold One Knights, and it's game over. And you can see the Cold One Knights here. They actually gained 2 chevrons, which is pretty nuts. Obviously, killing Karl Franz there with the help of Malekith, which is very, very potent. And they tore through that Empire Cav. Dark Elves are not necessarily a faction that's dedicated to cav play, but they're a faction that can be very cost effective in cav play, because unlike, say, Greenskins, who have Boar Boys, who might be cheap and decent against heavily armored cav, their lack of armor tends to let them down, as does their lack of stats. Whereas Cold One Knights, especially with the rework, have better sustained melee stats, and they do have a respectable 90 armor. Obviously not top tier, that's not into the same category as Empire Knights or Reichsguard or whatever, but it is a respectable amount of armor, which means that things like spears or swordsmen or that sort of collateral damage is not going to put a huge dent in them, and it does mean that things like Empire Knights or Reichsguard can't just outtrade them without some sort of serious help. For example, this is why I like bringing Knights of the Blazing Sun plus Balthazar Gelt in this matchup. And, well, this is a fun build. I would like to mention a few things that my opponent, I think, could have done a little differently. One, Knights of the Blazing Sun are immensely powerful in this matchup, in my opinion. The reason being that you get great charge bonus. You combo them with Balthazar Gelt, who I think is a great lord. I think he's the best lord for this matchup, to be honest. But you get dropped the enemy armor by 60 with Plague of Rust. And Knights of the Blazing Sun will basically annihilate a unit of Cold One Knights, basically just delete them and remove them from play. The other benefit of Knights of the Blazing Sun is that what you'll sometimes see is Lore of Death. It's not that rare from Dark Elves. And the 25% magic resist on Knights of the Blazing Sun is actually basically the exact amount you need to prevent Spirit Leech from killing a model of our cavalry on tick. So Knights of the Blazing Sun, each model needs to take 2 hits from Spirit Leech to die. But because of the way Spirit Leech works, it doesn't hit the same target constantly. So it'll hit a model, then it might hit a different model. So you end up, oftentimes you'll survive a Spirit Leech with no models lost, or like 1 or 2 models lost. So that's incredibly useful for. That's why Knights of the Blazing Sun, in my opinion, are an amazing unit in this matchup. The combination, and I guess if your opponent brings a Hydra, the Fire's nice, but that's honestly not really the huge selling point there. Really, the main thing is that they do have that magic resist, and they do have that crazy charge bonus and offensive stats that really let them exploit debuffs. For the rest of my opponent's build, I think the lack of a caster here was a bit of a mistake, even with a somewhat suboptimal build. And you definitely, in my opinion, I prefer more Outriders, honestly. The Hellblaster Volley Gun, not that good. If you bring a bunch of handguns and your opponent goes with a build like this, you're not going to be able to protect them. So in my opinion, you're better off bringing a bunch of Outriders, because they're much more flexible and much more able to respond. If you really want that mobile AP firepower, I think you're better off that way. Instead of Reichsguard, I'd say bring Knights of the Blazing Sun. You could rework this build just a little bit, get like 2 units of Knights of the Blazing Sun, maybe 3, and you'll have a few points left over. Even if you don't want Demigryph Knights with halberds, you can rework that. As for the Infantry Corps, I don't think that's a bad idea, to be honest. You could basically bring a caster and 3 Knights of the Blazing Sun for this pocket of troops. But I don't think the Infantry Corps is necessarily a bad idea. I personally prefer Swordsmen because they trade a little better with Dark Elf mid-tier infantry. But obviously spears can be okay. I wouldn't really bother with the great swords, but definitely the lack of caster was, I think, a bit of a weakness. And I do like Knights of Blazing Sun better than both of these. Regardless, well played to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a short one, and hopefully we get some better matches in the next few days. But I did want to show this one, just I wanted to demonstrate this build because I haven't run it in a while, and I thought it was a fun build, and wanted to see how it performed now that things are a little different balance-wise. So yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, as usual, don't hesitate to post them. I'll do my best to respond as soon as I can. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.